Hi, thank you for being here and letting me give you just a little taste of what CISA is. Why am I here on stage? I've been contributing to Bitcoin open source for a number of years now. For the past 2 years, I've been supported by Brink, which allows me to do it full time. And last year, I was also awarded the HRF CISA Fellowship with the goal of creating research on CISA, what it would allow, and the potential. And the result is a report that was released earlier this year. So what is the problem that we're trying to solve here? If you've been to the excellent Bitcoin introduction workshop in the last 2 days, or if you have done your own research, you probably already know that Bitcoin can be a very powerful privacy tool, but also it has its pitfalls. Bitcoin in itself is not completely private, but instead the addresses are pseudonyms. So Bitcoin is pseudonymous rather than anonymous, and that means that if you make a mistake somewhere in your history with Bitcoin, then you can dox your personality anywhere, and then this can be traced back to other touch points, and that can also endanger the people that you have transacted with as well. There are privacy tools out there that make this harder for the agencies that may want to find out who you are. For example, PayJoin, which is also supported by HRF, but these come usually with quite a bit of overhead, so you pay higher fees. The tools that you use there are not as easy to use since they're not mainstream tools, and that's not great. So how can CISA help with this? CISA is a proposed Bitcoin protocol upgrade where there's still some work in progress, but the general idea is quite clear. It would allow us to combine multiple signatures into one, and that shrinks the size of transactions. Now, if you know the basics of the Bitcoin network, you pay fees for the transactions, and you particularly pay fees for how much space you take up inside of the block. That means if you take less space, then you pay also lower fees. So that in itself is nice, of course, for everyone. Like everyone likes to pay less, lower fees. That's great. But why is this relevant for privacy? The privacy tools that I mentioned previously, they usually produce quite large transactions. And since CISA helps us save space in these transactions in a higher degree than just the normal smaller transactions, that means that these privacy-preserving transactions that are larger actually save more, and they even become cheaper than interacting with the Bitcoin blockchain just to transactions on your own. And that means that there's an incentive for everyone to use these ways of interacting with Bitcoin. It doesn't even matter that it's more private, it's also the cheaper way. So that means that should help with mainstream adoption and normalize this way of doing Bitcoin transactions, which also allows plausible deniability for anyone who is really, really in need to protect their privacy. And that's not just for activists like yourself or anyone who wants to protect privacy. Also businesses who happily KYC their customers, for them also they have huge potential to save on fees because they can consolidate all of the massive amount of transactions that they have. And so the incentives for adopting this are really nicely aligned, which is one of the outcomes of the report. So these were about 4 minutes of CISA. If you want to see over 40 pages of CISA, then you can find them here. There's a lot there, yeah, and please read the report, please give me feedback. You can also find me later after the session and ask me any questions about it. Thank you.